Unsurprisingly, there are numerous Easter eggs and references to other Star Wars stories peppered throughout The Mandalorian's 5th episode titled Gunslinger, and I'm here to show you the most interesting ones the show has to offer with 10 tiny details you may have missed in Chapter 5 of The Mandalorian.
They said you were the best in the parsec. Would you agree?
Hey, we don't serve their kind here.
What?
Your droids. They'll have to wait outside. We don't want them here.
When the Mandalorian enters the Tatooinean cantina, we see the droid tolerance has come a very long way since the time of A New Hope, and the establishment even has an EV supervisor droid serving as a bartender. Interestingly enough, the previous bartender from A New Hope had a similar disliking for droids, which paralleled the Mandalorians, as his family was killed by battle droids during the Clone Wars. However, there's also another familiar face rolling around the bar. When the Mandalorian enters, we get a close-up of another astromech we've seen on Tatooine before. While he was thought to be spotted on Navarro, that astromech actually had a predominantly red torso, rather than the white body of R5-D4. The red face and torso panels of this droid, along with the blue leg and upper torso panels, are identical to R5-D4, the astromech almost purchased by the Lars in A New Hope.
Uncle Owen!
Yeah?
This R2 unit has a bad motivator, look!
The weapon carried by Peli is an ionization blaster, created as an anti-droid weapon. The ionization blaster was favored by the Jawas because of its ability to short-circuit a droid systems. The fact that this is the primary weapon at Peli's disposal really makes you wonder how she acquired those pit droids, if they have restraining bolts or, I don't know. She's definitely shooting something mechanical.
Look out! He's got an ion blaster!
What a piece of junk!
She may not look like much, but she's got it where it counts, kid.
The ship seen chasing Mando in the opening sequence is a Z-95 Headhunter. While similar to a closed X-Wing, the outdated Z-95 only features 2 wings and lacked both an astromech socket and stock hyperdrive. While aftermarket hyperdrives were available, the lack of astromech aid meant that pilots would have to manually calculate hyperspace coordinates, which, as seen in the early part of the episode, is not ideal in a pinch.
I have you now. What?
So you're with the Resistance?
Obviously. Yes, I am. With the Resistance, yeah. I am with the Resistance.
When Toro Calican is introduced, he's idly manipulating a gold token in his fingers. The token itself features the sigil of the Rebellion and the New Republic. Since this is Calican's first job, we can assume that this was not a trophy lifted from a previous target, but perhaps an identifier of his true or former allegiance. With this detail being so intentionally shown but never explained, I am reminded of Chekhov's gun and cannot help but wonder if this detail will become important later on, and if he has any affiliation with Cara Dune.
With all we've been through, sometimes I'm amazed we're in as good condition as we are. What with the rebellion and all.
You know of the rebellion against the Empire?
That's how we came to be in your service, if you take my meaning, sir.
Sabacc?
Sabacc.
Sabacc. Got it.
You played before?
Couple times, yeah.
The game played by Peli and her droids is the classic Star Wars game of sabacc, first referenced in Empire Strikes Back. This was the very card game in which Han Solo won the Millennium Falcon from Lando Calrissian. The game of sabacc has been a mainstay of Star Wars culture since The Empire Strikes Back, and it's always nice to see it get more screen time.
How you doing, you old pirate? So good to see you.
That's absolutely right. And a big turnout here from all corners of the Outer Rim territories.
After the Mandalorian kills Toro Calican, Peli tells her droids to get rid of the bodies. When they ask where, well, probably I don't speak binary, she suggests Beggars Canyon. This is a reference to one of the first recurring locations on Tatooine and saw both Luke and Anakin race through before their time as a Jedi. This is also the location of the Boonta Eve pod race from Phantom Menace, as well as the place where a mischievous, bored teen Luke would bomb Womp Rats in his T-16 and later use that, bafflingly, as a bragging point in a war room to a bunch of rebels who he'd never met before.
But it's not impossible. I used to bullseye Womp Rats in my T-16 back home. They're not much bigger than T-meters.
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground.
Like many cinema franchises, Star Wars is known for having many signature lines and recurring phrases.
I got a bad feeling about this.
And in this episode, we get several callback lines to previous entries in the Star Wars saga. First is the line by the pilot of the Z-95 who says to Mando, "I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold." The Mandalorian calls this one for us, saying, "That's my line." Later in the chapter, our lead character says to Toro, "She's got the high ground. She'll wait for us to make the first move." Of course, many fans will notice that this is a loving reference to the infamous line by Obi-Wan Kenobi during his fight with Anakin Skywalker.
High ground!
Finally, when the duo catches Fennec, the Mandalorian leaves to retrieve the dewback, and he instructs Toro, "Don't let her near the speeders. She's no good to us dead." This is obviously a reference to the line spoken by the notorious Boba Fett in The Empire Strikes Back.
"You may take Captain Solo to Jabba the Hutt after I have Skywalker.
He's no good to me dead."
Jabba wa ninki ko babushani kaitani wa nyaruska.
Yeah, but this time I've got the money.
When Toro meets up with the Mandalorian, he throws a bounty puck on the table, revealing the face of Fennec Shand and a bounty payout of 10,000 credits. Even though this is the highest payout we've seen in the show thus far, with the exception of the child, this hardly seems high enough for a target of her skill and lethality. Her reputation is enough to give the Mandalorian himself pause, as he tells Toro, "You won't make it past sunrise." This line is a bit ironic and foreshadowing, as it is precisely at sunrise that Toro kills Fennec himself with the quick draw of a gunslinger.
Ironic.
How's he gonna pay for all of this?
I have 20,000 Republic dactyrics.
Republic credits? Republic credits are no good out here. I need something more real.
When our hero kills Toro to save the child, he bends down to his body and retrieves a hefty pouch of credits. He then uses these credits to pay Peli for her repairs and care of the child. However, the style and design of these credits appear not to be Imperial credits or calamari flan, but actually match the design of Republic credits, the same design seen in Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Normally, there would be 5 times as many officers out here.
The Mandalorian, it's interesting. I mean, we all know the helmet, but the helmet is Boba Fett. And that was a big challenge in the beginning of this. And John and I went round and round like, well, how do we tell the story? And it's not Boba Fett, or is it Boba Fett? You know? And we would talk about that.
This was the second episode, directed by Dave Filoni, former supervising director on Star Wars: The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. Dave Filoni has been well noted as having an eye for detail and a passion for Easter eggs and references, allowing his love of the source material to permeate through his work. The story itself served as another self-contained story and serves to further flesh out day in the life of a Star Wars character. Through the lens of The Mandalorian, we've seen many new cultures and worlds we wouldn't otherwise get to see. Because of many of the episodes are brought down to a local level, many of the chapters are less about the main plot and more about taking us along through the life of the Mandalorian, a bounty hunter, and a man on a journey and learning to be a father.
Mandalorian, look outside. They are waiting for you.
Yeah? Good.